Hi guys, and welcome back to Yorkshire Railway. If you're new here, thank you for stumbling across my little channel, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. It's good to see you. My name's Harry, and if you are new to the channel, I would really greatly appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button. It would massively help me and the channel out in terms of growing, but also would help find more people that enjoy model railways. So I really massively appreciate if you could do that before we begin. Now, it's going to be quite a lengthy video this, because we've got a lot to talk about, but what I'll do is I'm going to break the structure up of the video into essentially set categories, and I'll put the timestamps in the description down below so you can skip ahead to the bits that you might find relevant, but I hope that you watch it all. But anyway, we'll get on to category number one. Okay, so we've got into life category. Now, my life over the last year has taken, well, it's basically been spun upside down, dumped on its head, and I've had to crawl back out of the big hole that I fell into. And that isn't really an exaggeration. So we'll get the elephant out of the room, is that I split up with my partner. Over the last year, things were just going from bad to worse, and I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty, but yeah, things weren't good at all over last year, although I might have seen that way. But yeah, towards the end of last year, we decided to call it quits, and that was about November, December time. We decided to part ways, essentially. So she moved out of the house, and until we were deciding what we were doing with it, it was a bit of a stressy time. And that's, probably putting it lightly. It's been a real stressful beginning of 2025. So basically my old salary couldn't afford to pay for everything. I could pay for the bills, but I wouldn't be eating anything other than fresh air and dust. And luxuries like model railways completely gone out of the window. So I had a choice to make. I either sell the house and move back with my parents, which isn't really an option I wanted to do, having now moved out for 2 years. It's definitely not an option that I wanted to do at all. So the second option was to get a new job. And with the help of my family, which have been a massive help and a rock this year in terms of physical and emotional help. They helped me basically secure a new career, and I'm pleased to say that it is something that I have always wanted to get into, but never sort of knew the pathway in. But yeah, with their help, I've managed to secure a career on the railway. Now, a few YouTubers, my friend YouTubers out there, do know what it is that I actually do, just because I talk to them sort of on a weekly basis. So yeah, it's one of those, I talk to them quite frequently, and they now know what I do. But it's not one of those things that I'm going to broadcast to the wider audience, so I hope you can respect my privacy on that. But yeah, essentially I'm now working on the railway, which is a great career that is got a lot of prospects in terms of growth. And it's definitely going to hopefully take me places, and that's figuratively and metaphorically. There's a real great way of progression. So it's definitely an onwards and upwards sort of career. The new job that I now have has allowed me to keep the house in my own name, which is absolutely fantastic. So not only can I pay all the bills, and I can afford to live, and I can afford the odd bit of luxury, I can do what I want with it now. So that's sort of where we'll shortly move on into what is planned. But yeah, it's a really exciting time. Okay, so we get to layout updates. Now, I did mention briefly at the start of the year on the Shunting Yard podcast. Now, if you're not a subscriber to that, it's definitely worth going and having a subscribe to. They do a podcast usually every week on a Thursday, where essentially everybody just gets drunk and we all talk about model railways. So yeah, it's a great place to go and have a chat on a Thursday night. But I had the great fortune to be a guest appearance on there at the beginning of the year, and I did sort of touch on what I had planned, but you know, I said I was going to do a proper update video when the time has come. Now, the reason it's taken so long to come is just simply because I've been waiting for the house to get fully signed over into my own name before I could reveal any of this plan at all. But yes, the layout that we've constructed behind us is going to be no more. Yeah, great big sadness. It's taught me a lot building it, certainly in terms of joinery skills, which I had basically none when I started constructing it. And yeah, it's been a learning curve, especially being in the shed, and the ever-changing conditions that we have in here. So obviously, yeah, the shed's base, it was a used shed when I bought it. Well, I got given it, should I say, very, very kindly by my old boss. So yeah, it's a fantastic shed, but simply for what I was doing in here, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. The floor has sunk a little bit in certain places, even though the base is still level. It's just the actual wood itself, because it's old, just simply has shrunk and, well, warped a little bit, should I say. So yeah, it's been a bit of a battle with the elements, and I've ended up with inclines that I didn't necessarily want, but it's how it is. And also because of the nature of where the doors are and everything that I needed to function this shed as, because it not only is going to be a model railway, but it needed to be a shed as well, is that I couldn't have a layout the way I wanted it, just simply because I didn't feel comfortable enough having like a pull-out section in front of the doors or a folding section. Just I didn't trust my skills enough at the time to be able to create that. But instead of having, say, a layout that went around the perimeter of the shed, I've had one that's in like an L shape. And don't get me wrong, it functions very well. There are certain issues with it, one being my dodgy track work at the best of times isn't the best, but also when I set out to build this, I was on analog. Now, many of you know I've converted to DCC as of Christmas, and sort of this year I've basically only been getting DCC sound fitted locos, as well as I've got to upgrade the large collection that sits behind me. So yeah, it's a bit of a learning curve with that, but being made from Hornby set track, it's a little bit, it would make it a little bit hard to start wiring it up. Not impossible, but just make it harder. And also, due to the size of it and the fact that it's mostly pinned down at the moment, it would be a nightmare having to do it now. So the options is I either tear up this layout and build a new one in here, or we're going to go for option 2. But the reasons we're not doing option 1 is simply because I have plans for the shed for my own personal life anyway. I'm going to turn it into something completely new for me to enjoy with people around. And yeah, in terms of the layout, I don't like it in the L shape. A lot of you did comment on my first ever layout build when I finished the boards, in that it was going to be incredibly hard to reach the back of the layout, which I knew at the time. It's 4 foot across, I can reach the back, but then I realised, yes, I can't reach the back once scenery's on, because I'm going to have to lean over. Hence why it was only straight track and curves, there was no point work on the back, and my plan for a lower storage yard pretty much went out the window at that point, because there was no way I was going to be able to get a helix fitted and have point work at the back without something happening at some point that'd be a derailment, and yeah, it would just make life a lot more difficult. So not only that, we've also got the battling of the elements, which I know a few of my sort of YouTube friends like James and Hilton have a good laugh about it, when over last winter especially, I was in here in pretty much every outfit possible, from just a t-shirt and shorts to having a hoodie on, to having a jacket on over a hoodie, to having a full-on ski coat at one point and a woolly hat on. not ideal at all for model railwaying. Now, a few people said, oh, why don't you just get a heater out here? I've tried it, but the way that my shed's electrically wired up, it's not done professionally, it's done by myself, and I essentially teed off of what was an exterior light when we first moved in, which connects to a switch in the living room, and that then goes to a double plug that's in here. But the downside of that is anything over a certain wattage, it will blow, unfortunately, so I can't use anything that has heating elements in here, hence why I've never had a heater in here and it is absolutely freezing. So yeah, it made coming in here in the winter pretty much unbearable, so that is why we're going for option 2. And option 2 being, I'm taking it inside the house. So I've had a bit of a move around in that I've decided to move my bedroom out of the front master bedroom and put it in one of the what is technically the back bedroom, or the spare room as I used to call it. There's not that much difference in size. Obviously I fit my bed and everything in there, but the main thing is it's a lot cooler for me to sleep in, because the front room does get a lot of the evening sun, so it can get a little bit hot, but it's not too much of a problem for, say, model railways, because I can have the windows open, I can have the fan on in there, it's not a problem. The main thing is I'm not going to be cold in the winter, because I'm used to being hot. I think the hottest temperature it's been in here was 40 degrees, and the hottest temperature it has been in the front bedroom was 27, I think it was. So there's a big difference. So although it's still hot, and don't get me wrong, in the summer it's pretty hot, yeah, I can pretty much go in there and still have a nice time, have the door open, have the fan on. So yeah, that's not going to be a problem whatsoever. But here is what we've got planned. So basically I'm planning a perimeter layout. So I'm going to have a section that at the moment I'm going to crawl under. I'm not that bothered about having a pull-out section. I'm still young enough that I think crawling under on carpet is not going to do any harm to me whatsoever. You know, it's a brief couple of seconds and then I'm under and away we go. So yeah, I'm going to have a perimeter layout, and that will be in the room. So main thing is the room is a lot bigger than what the shed is. Not by much, but in terms of a perimeter layout, it'll actually make the layout massive. So the room itself is 16 foot by 13 foot, or 4.9 meters by 4 meters. So yeah, huge difference to what this is, which is a 12 foot by 8 foot shed. So we're pretty much an extra 4 foot in length on the whole length of the shed, and pretty much an extra 5 foot in the width. So yeah, it's going to be a huge layout. And not only that, I plan on doing it similar to a layout that I saw at Key Mod World this year, or 2025, if you're watching it in the future. But I saw a layout, and I forgive me because I can never remember the names of these layouts, but I can describe what it is, so someone probably will be able to find out what it is and drop that in the comments down below. But basically, it was a layout that was themed on Nottingham, and I believe it was in the sort of 1960s. Sort of the end of steam but the beginning of diesels. And the one thing that fascinated me about this layout was it was in a figure of 8, which I never thought of doing a layout like that before, but it adds so much play value because you're not just going around in a circle, you can change the points, you can go down the middle and then come out in a different section, and your train that was, say, going from left to right suddenly is going right to left. And yeah, I just love that theme of it. So that is basically what we're going to do. So it's going to be, at the moment I've decided on a double track main line, and that is going to feature 2 stations. Going to be completely fictional still, as I don't physically have the room to make a one-to-one replica of each. But my layout still plans in the same theme that I had before, in that I want to do Edinburgh Waverley. Now, I decided with this layout that it was just impossible due to the nature of the way it was, but with this, basically, the station will be able to run more or less a full 12-foot span, which is pretty long. Not quite as long as I think I need to give Edinburgh Waverley justice. I feel like you need at least 30 to 40 foot, just to give it the immense justice of the scale of what's built up around it. But yeah, I've decided that I'm going to make a fictional station loosely based off of Edinburgh Waverley, and sort of that it's going to be sunk into a valley with the city rising above either side. And then, yeah, I'm probably going to take a few creative liberties and design it on stations that I see on a regular basis. So that, there'll be certain sidings or something that I, want to incorporate into it. Same for like signal box and things like that. So yeah, it's going to have a bit of creative liberties with that, but overall we'll have the theme of Edinburgh Waverley, which is the sort of like that station that's sunk into the valley and it's got tunnels either side. I think that'll be quite a nice station to do. Then the other station is going to be loosely based off of Berwick-on-Tweed, and I still want to incorporate in the viaduct. So my plan is that essentially one span of it is just going to be the viaduct that's going over the mouth of the river or the inlet to the sea. I'm not really sure what you class it as, but that's essentially what it's going to be. The station then afterwards on the viaduct will be loosely based off of Berwick-on-Tweed, but it's not going to be a one-to-one replica again. It's just going to be sort of a loose interpretation and a fictional station at best, but it'll sort of have that feel. So it's not going to be quite as big. You're not going to have the larger trains like the Azumas or the Luma or anything like that, HSTs, 91s. They will not be stopping at this station. It's going to be like a local station that sort of small commuter trains are going to be stopping at, but everything else will pass through on the up and down main line. So essentially go straight down the middle, and then you'll sort of have the passing loops of the side. And I think Berwick's got a couple of like terminus platforms, so yeah, I'll probably incorporate one or two of those in there as well if we've got enough space. Now, the figure of 8 section that will go through the middle. So that'll essentially come off where Berwick is and will join Edinburgh, well, I'm going to call it Edinburgh Waverley for the time being until we think of a name. But essentially join up at that side. And my plan for this is essentially what I wanted to do in this section here is going to be a modern day TMD. And I'm planning on using buildings from the Key Model World shop by PGM Models. So I want to use the really big 4-lane depot, as well as I might try and fit in at, like, say, the other side, one of the other buildings that they do, and have a proper depot scene with fueling station, a wash, the locomotive loading, like weight loading bays and stuff like that. So yeah, it'll be a real nice scene to incorporate into. Not only that, in front of that scene, I'm planning on sort of masking it with another scene that I really want to incorporate in, is that around the viaduct, I want it to sort of not just look like, oh, it goes over a bit of water. I want to try and incorporate that water spreads out a lot further. So I want to build a like coastal town that'll sort of be tiered up towards the TMD area. So like the back of the houses will back onto the railway, but the front of the houses will back onto a coastal sort of harbour area, and I want to put a beach in there as well. I just think that will add a bit of interest, but I'll get back to another feature that I want to add to that in a minute. Now, you might think, well, that's all well and good, we've got a modern traction in that as well, but we're going proper expansive with my plans for this layout. I've been thinking about it for months, and I've finally had time to basically think of what I want to come up with, taking a bit of inspiration from things that I've seen on YouTube and in real life. But I've sort of been inspired by a couple of YouTubers on what I want to do with this next portion. Now, many of you probably have noticed I've got a few steam engines here, quite a few in my collection, and that's because I'm not just into modern image stock, although that is a big passion. I do quite like steam engines, but again, I think that if you're building a layout, you either want to have one or the other, or you do what I'm about to do on this, is that I've taken inspiration from Richard at New Junction, in that I want to have a slightly lower level area that will run below the main line, for heritage line. And then not only that, because I do really like the scenic side of creating things, I've taken inspiration from Hilton's done Roman layouts from Proper Chuffed, in that his layout is based on the West Highlands of Scotland. Obviously, a big part of what I wanted to do was model Scottish railways, but I also wanted to tie it a little bit into the fact that obviously I am from England, so I thought, oh, I the East Coast Main Line is my local sort of main line, and yeah, I really wanted to homage that, hence why I was sort of going from Berwick to Edinburgh. But I really like the West Highland line as well. It's a real scenic line, obviously goes past all the locks and the castles and things like that, and the scenery is just absolutely breathtaking. So my plan is to go absolutely bonkers with this theme. Is that I want to essentially have two stations again on this. They will be Scottish themed in terms of the painting and the decorations, but they will be based off of stations that are not in Scotland. So the first of that will be based in from the Norfolk Railway. I'm undecided as to which station I want to do. It's either going to be Sheringham or Weyburn. Undecided basically which one I want to do, but essentially one of them has locomotive sheds and a little bit of a maintenance depot area for the steam engines and heritage diesels, and then it's got a nice double platform station, so you've got two tracks that pass in a loop, but it is single track the rest of the line. And then my other station that I want to do is somewhere that I've not actually visited, and then I'm ashamed to say so, but is from the North Yorkshire Moors Railway, and that is Gromont. So obviously I've never been, but I have seen pictures and obviously videos as well. But yeah, it's a fantastic looking station and somewhere that I have always wanted to go and visit. But yeah, as I say, I'm ashamed to say, as a Yorkshireman, I've never been. So I'm hoping by solidifying this decision, it will force my hand, and that I will have to finally, much to my despair, not really, I'm really looking forward to it, but it will force me to actually go and do a bit of research firsthand, so I can go and take a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, and yeah, it'll give me inspiration to building a station based off of Gromont. So the interesting thing about Gromont is, obviously it has the level crossing in there, from what I've seen on pictures, and I can't remember if it from the looks of it, it looks like it's got 3 platforms. So there's like an island platform and just a single platform. I might be wrong, as I say, I've never been. But yeah, from images that I've seen on the internet and videos, it looks absolutely fantastic and something worth modelling, and obviously connects Yorkshire to the channel in some fictional sense. But yeah, so we're going to have these 2 stations at either end of the layout, and they will be connected by a single track layout that will go through the West Highlands of Scotland. Now, not only is it going to go through the West Highlands, but I sort of want to have it a little bit like an in-world excuse, that it is not only just for Heritage Line, but it is used by the main line as well. Although it's single track, it's still going to be used, and that will give me excuses to run things like the Highland Explorer, which is the DMU, and say a nice Class 37 with a nice timber train attached to it, which gets me to the second section. We've also got the figure of 8 in the middle. So I'm planning on doing on the figure of 8 section that will be on the lower level. It will be separated by a back scene that will be double-sided, so you'll not be able to see the TMD from the lower end. It'll just look like hills, but I really want to do, because I've seen this picture and I'll put it on screen as well, of a lumberyard. It's got a nice Class 37, as you can see, in large logo BR blue, and yeah, we just got a load of OTA wagons, but it's obviously just a single line in. It's probably got a passing loop on the other side, but I don't think you can quite see that. But anyway, that would basically allow me to put like a timber mill in there, so that we can have 37s go in with a timber train, load up, come back out, and then how are they going to get back to the main line? Well, I'm planning on having a slight incline that will be able to take locos from the Heritage Line / West Highlands and take it up onto the main line. So we'll go slightly up. So it's not going to be that much lower, but yeah, it'll allow that playability for locos to be able to come in, do a loop, grab a load, and then back up and back onto the main line and take it where it needs to be on the main line, which I think would add that really nice playability to it. So that's what I fancy doing for that section. If not a timber yard, there'll be something of some playability. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say like whiskey distillery, because obviously that is what like Hilton's doing. I don't know, it's not really my forte, but yeah, it's obviously you know, a plausibility that yeah, we could have something of that esque. Yeah, we'll think of something, but I'm thinking timber yard, just because I really like that photo, and I think, you know, it looks really damp and muddy. I'm unsure as to what season I want to base this layout in, so I'm leaning more towards autumn just for the colours. But either that, you know, obviously it's dank and miserable most of the time here in the UK, so do I just go the old reliable and stick to summer? But yeah, I am thinking of going with a sort of autumn themed layout. If not, sort of just blending the two together, so have it like sort of late summer, early autumn, where some of the trees are still turning, but not all of them. But obviously, you know, through the scenic sections of the Highland Line, we can have the big rocks, the pine trees, the heather, things like that. It'll look absolutely fantastic, and I'm planning on trying to experiment a little bit with height, certainly for that line. I think with the main line, it's more or less going to be quite flat, in that the scenery will rise up around it, but that's usually how it is. Whereas with the Highlands, they do go up and down, so I'm thinking certainly on maybe like the curves where it can be a little bit boring, yeah, let's have a bit of height and try something different. So the stations might be on different levels, but yeah, we'll see what happens. There's a scene that I really fancy trying to incorporate into it, and obviously would blend into it the fact that it is on a curve in real life, is that I really fancy doing the Glenfinnan viaduct, which, for those of you that don't know what that is, it is the bridge that is in Harry Potter. Now, it might be adding too much in that less is probably more, but it's always an option that I could put something like that in. And then maybe thinking of something, you know, a little bit fun, is that I could get Hogwarts Express with the coaches, and what I've seen at shows is they have like a little bit of see-through plastic, attach that to the front of the locomotive, and then on the other end attach a blue Ford Anglia to simulate the flying car from the Chamber of Secrets. So that's always something that could be done because it's a little bit of fun. But yeah, I am worried that maybe it's a little bit too much, and I think maybe if I don't do that, just having very two expansive scenic profiles would look a lot better. But yeah, I'll let you discuss that in the comments down below. Do you think that would be a good idea? And if so, why? And if not, do you think I should go with the less is more and just have the Highlands just be Highland Scenics on the area where the stations are? Also, on the note of the layout, I don't have a laptop or anything at home, so if anybody can tell me, is there an app that you can get to download track plans onto your iPad? Or if so, would somebody be able to contact me on Instagram and be able to essentially design this layout for me, so I can have a bit of a track plan ready to go? Yeah, that would be amazing if anybody could help out with that. So yeah, drop that in the comments down below if you think you're able to be up for the task for that. I would greatly appreciate it. Then we get onto the next section of what I want to do, because we're going for 3 layers with this, which the third layer is a little bit boring, why I've left it for last, which is I still want to do a lower storage area. And I think having the space that I will have for this new layout, it's more than possible. So a few reasons why I want a lower storage area is simply because taking locos off and on. It's a little bit of a faff to constantly be taking them on and off again, especially the Hornby 800s, 803s, things like that. Once they're coupled together, yeah, just don't want to be taking them apart. And as you've seen, the length of the rake of the 91, although it's the class 60 by Kira scale that's pulling it, yeah, my 91 is quite extensive, and I don't have to be taking it off and on again. So my plan is that essentially I want to have a really expansive storage yard that can accommodate the longest rakes of trains in there. Obviously, once they're all on DCC, it'll be a lot easier because they can all just run in and then I can program them out when I need them to. This will be connected by either a gradual incline that can be hidden, because essentially my plans are on the curved sections that will take it back round in a loop. I'm planning on having it drop down there, but I'll be able to access it from underneath, so it'll not necessarily be hidden that I can't have access to it, but it'll be hidden in the sense that you won't be able to see it from the top boards, which I think is a better solution. So it'll essentially go, like my plan is, I want it to go into, like, say, Edinburgh and make it look like it's a 4-track main line, but actually 2 of the tracks just go to the drop section, and that's essentially my plan with it. So trains can go into the tunnel, but you might have a different train that comes out of it, and that way it sort of leads you to believe that the layout is bigger than what it is, and not that it's just going to come back round in a loop. Down below, well, I've seen a few different methods of doing it. My first method was to go for the helix, but they can be quite expensive. I think for looking at the height that I wanted to, which would be about 18 inches, I think I was looking about nearly 300 quid just to buy the helix kit for it, which, yeah, it's quite expensive, and then that, obviously I've got to get the track on top of that. Whereas I've seen quite a few people these days doing more gradual slopes on, like, say, just straight boards, but it's so gradual that a lot of locos will find no problem going up and down it. So yeah, again, in the comments down below, through personal experience, what do you think is a better option? Would you go with the sort of straight drop down sections where it might take a few, you know, it might take a full lap to actually get down to the bottom, which is possible, but yeah, I just need to know basically which would you go? Would you go with the helix and have it at one end and just have it spiral down? I'm only going to have 1 track down, so it's not going to be like, well, I think if I go with the gradual drop down, it might be 2, but if it's the helix, it'd only be 1. So a loco would go down and they'd have to come back up the same way. Whereas on the gradual one, because the board can be a little bit wider, I'll probably have it that a loco can go in, but you can still have one coming out the storage yard and up the incline at the same time. That's my thoughts. But yeah, essentially the down below storage area will be, I'll probably not go the full length of the layout, but definitely enough that it can incorporate enough to turn around at the other end. So yeah, it might go all the way around, I don't know, but I'll find a way. So then we go on to what I said I was going to come back to. So we'll go to the coastal village. So my coastal town village will basically stretch from where Berwick-on-Tweed station is. It'll stretch all the way along the front of the TMD and then sort of merge into the cityscape that will build up around Edinburgh Waverley. So yeah, it'll be quite a extensive town, a lot of houses to build. But my main angle with this is, and it's something I think is really important to incorporate, is lighting. Lighting is one of those things that I think gets overlooked quite a bit, but certainly on a lot of layouts that I've seen at exhibitions, it's the better layouts I've seen incorporate a lot of lighting in there, even if it's not necessarily as noticeable when the lights, like the main lights, are on. And again, it was a layout that I saw at Getz, which will be last year. So yeah, last year's Getz, which was the crew depot, which was solely set at night time, and I found that really, really fascinating. Is that it highlights a lot of features. So although it's still quite dark and dingy, the locomotives stand out a lot more, because especially the diesels, because a lot of them have headlights, so they look really, really mysterious, merging out of the darkness and then coming along, and then they get hit with the floodlights from the depot and things like that. So my plan is that essentially every single house will have lighting on it. The stations will all be lit whether that be actual lights on the platforms or the station building itself. The TMD is going to be lit, but then there will be areas of pure darkness, hence like the highlands, the scenics around, which will just be sprawling hills and things like that. Everything like that will be just in darkness. So in certain, well, obviously for instance, when we get into the winter months, when it's going to get dark quite early, and once it's built, I'll be able to turn the main lights off to the room, and essentially everything will be lit for darkness. So it'll create a really nice playability, is that I can essentially sit there in the dark playing with my trains, which I know sounds a bit sad, but yeah, I think with the layout lit, it will incorporate a really nice way of not playing trains, but also showcasing the locomotives in all their glory. So that is something that I want to do. With the beach area and the harbour area, it's not going to be like massive, the harbour as such, but I want to have a bit of sea in that I can have a few boats, fishing boats. I really want to get a lifeboat to put there, and then a nice little beach area where we can have, you know, say some dog walkers and things like that on there, maybe someone with a metal detector, something like that. It's not going to be say a load of people sunbathing or anything like that, but just people going for a walk, which I think will look quite nice. It also adds that bit of extra scenery, is that, you know, we can have the tide marks where the seaweed's on the sand, and it'll just add that little bit of extra scenics to that side of the layout. Obviously that'll be met with the back scene that's going to be behind the TMD, so you'll be able to essentially watch it as it tears up all the way up to where the track is, which I think will look really fantastic. And then obviously on the other side, it'll be blocked by the back scene, but that's where we'll have the West Highland scenic area, and that'll be able to go up there. So we'll have, if we're going with the lumber mill, you know, we'll have a few trees in the background to mask the back scene, but we'll also have a few chopped down trees in the front, as well as, you know, a few vehicles, the lumber yard itself, and it'll probably be a bit more sparse, but it'll still look equally as good with the lights on. And especially with that, like, there's that realistic mud paint that you can get where it makes it look like there's still water on it. I think that'll look really great, creating like these really deep muddy puddles. Yeah, that's going to look really fantastic. It look like it's been, you know, really heavy downpour over the last days, which tends to do in England or the UK, up in Scotland and things like that. Yeah, it tends to be raining quite a bit. And yeah, it's one of these things that'll look absolutely amazing once it's built. It's going to take a few years, I reckon, probably to get to a finished point, but getting the track down to the main section, which is thinning down the collection. Now, I have done an extensive thin down of the collection to date, so I got rid of pretty much every stock that isn't East Coast mainline themed or Scottish themed. Pretty much everything has gone at this point. So steam locomotives, I've got a few BR locomotives, LNR and LMS. That is it. We've got obviously the book jumper that's in the Great Eastern Railway, but obviously fits the theme. And then modern day images, yeah, we're really thin down on this. I'm down to 1 HST, which is a really sad time. Hopefully not for long, but budgets and things like that. So yeah, we pretty much got only East Coast mainline / Scottish stock in the mainline modern day image stuff, and that is essentially what I'm going to stick to. So unless it runs on the East Coast mainline or up in Scotland, and I will count the West Highland line a little bit with this, but unless it's of that, I will not be getting it. I'm going to be very strict with this, is that the only things that will be added to my collection are going to be what I am modelling. So and then for the heritage line, I've still set a strict mandate, but it can be a little bit more rule one than the main line will be, is that to buy a steam locomotive, it has to be either of theme, so it has to be either Scottish or anything from LNR, LMS or Great Eastern Railway, or I have to have essentially been on it on a heritage line. So there might be some Great Western locos that appear over the years, but it has to be the exact one that I have been behind. So unless that is the case, I'm not getting one, which I think is an alright rule to go by. So that way I can still have a few different steam locomotives, but it's going to have a little bit more of a sentiment because I will have actually seen it in real life. And I'm not deviating from this either. The main reason being is obviously because now I'm on my own in terms of paying for this. Yeah, my budget for model railways has dipped slightly. So, essentially any money that is raised from the subscribers of the channel, that will be fed back into the channel in terms of the layout build. And it is my own cash that we're paying for new locomotives. So in terms of pre-orders, they've shrank a lot, and I've had to cancel quite a few of them as well. So with saddening, and Hilton will be really sad to hear this, I've cancelled 2 of my 3 37s by Acura scale. Was a bit of a hard decision, but I basically decided, yeah, I can't afford them all, and I would rather have 1 DCC sound fitted than I would have 3 DC ones, which aren't going to work properly because I'm on the Hornby controllers. So yeah, I decided I'm not going to get the Acura scale exclusive Euro Phoenix livery, and I've also knocked on the EWS Lock Rannoch, which I think was the right one for this year. Yeah, my reason for that is, as much as I do like the Lock name, I think it sounds amazing, and I'm with Hilton on that. It does look really cool, and they're obviously really nice to collect. For me, 37s look amazing in BR large logo blue, which is the one that I've stuck with, which is the Scottish Hostelia, I think it is. So yeah, that's the one I've stuck with, and I've decided to go for the sound fitted option. I traded in my Hatton's Class 66s, just because, yeah, I wasn't much of a fan anymore of them, fed up with them shedding pieces, so I traded them in, and essentially that paid for those. So they've gone. I am on the lookout for a new 66 because obviously I've got quite a lot of Freightliner stock. So yeah, there will be a new 66 at some point. I'm just waiting to see what Bachmann's is going to be like. I have pre-ordered a Bachmann one when they were first announced, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get one straight away, so I think I'm going to cancel that one as well. Yeah, in terms of pre-orders for locos, they're pretty much next to none for next year. There's not a lot that I've got on order. And the reason for that, obviously, one, I've got to pay for it, which I've got to either stick some overtime in or save up for them, or a bit of both. But yeah, it's because I want to focus more on the layout build than I do getting new models. So next year you might find the model reviews teeter off a little bit, but I'll certainly try my best to put out more content as such. So you might find the videos going forwards might be a bit slower, but certainly bear with me. It's not because I don't want to make videos, it's because like at the moment there's not really much that I've got available to do a video on in terms of reviews, and obviously I'm not building the layout at the moment, so I can't keep on doing layout updates. But yeah, obviously bear with me, you know, I am just a one man at the end of the day. Yeah, and I'm working all ends to sort that out, but it's a pretty exciting time. However, my first thing that I want to do before I'm going to start the layout, and it's what I've been thinking about for quite a while, but I'm sort of in the position that I want to try and do it before I start the layout, because I've got a lot of spare track, and essentially what I want to do is I want to make a little diorama. And my reasoning for this is I want to make a diorama, but I want to electrify it. So I want to basically put I've got like some old shelves essentially, so I'm thinking of like connecting 2 of those together with a piece of plywood. They can then be drilled through, electrified, and I can essentially have like a little, you know, not necessarily a depot seam, but you know, just a sidings with a back seam. And my reasoning for doing this is one, it'll help hone my skills in terms of Scenics. So I will fully decorate it with static grass, ballast, Obviously I'm not going to be doing point motors or anything like that because there's going to be no point to it. That wasn't a pun. But yeah, it'll help my skills in terms of getting the scenics right. Obviously I've never used anything like a static grass applicator or anything like that, and my old layout I never had anything really like they do today. It was painted with like poster paint that was just green and grey. So yeah, I've never ballasted a track, I've never done anything, so I really want to have a go at doing that, as well as painting a back scene. So I'm not really a fan of the picture back scenes that you can buy, and the reason for that is no matter how good you are at applying them, I've never seen one where you can go around the whole layout and you can't tell that either it's like a fake back scene or it just doesn't marry as well with what your scenics do, as well as they don't really marry up well with each other. So it's like wallpaper, you know, you've got to make sure that it's matched perfectly, otherwise you can tell massively. So I'm going to essentially make my own background. I'm going to paint a scene essentially. So yeah, it's not going to look as realistic as say like the photographs, but I think it'll tie in a little bit better with the scenery, as I've seen from Tony from Showberton Junction and Hilton's sisters that she painted for him of the West Highlands, which looked absolutely fantastic. So yeah, so that's my plan, is that I'm going to have a go at doing this diorama, paint a scenery for it, and then that way I can have a go at doing scenics. But not only that, it gives me somewhere when I finally get a new model, and say we're doing model reviews and I'm just doing you know, the static views for say the thumbnails and things like that, or doing the sound profile videos, it gives me somewhere better to view them, or well, better to show them as well, because at the moment they're just on the track and you can see the bare baseboards, the cork, and whatever rolling stock or locomotives that are in the background, which I don't think look too professional. So my plan is, yeah, I want to build like say 2 shelving units, so it's probably about 2 foot diorama. It's going to be something relatively small so I can store it underneath the main layout once I built it. But yeah, it will just give me a little bit of a nicer time to have a go at making some scenery and showcase the models, which I think will look really nice. So it'll be a lot better for the thumbnails, as well as my own skills. So that's what I'm planning on doing. So before I start the layout build, that's probably going to be something that I will do a bit of a tutorial on, and show you how I've gone about doing things and the whole making it, and I'll go through from making the baseboard to doing this, the scenery on the backgrounds, to ballasting, to weathering the track. Everything like that essentially will be covered. So it'll be a nice little mini series before we start the overall layout build, and it'll give me time to get the baseboards built for the main build and start putting the track down as well, so I can get all that started, and then hopefully that'll be up and running by the time that series is finished. And then that way we're essentially into the point of I can blast out the videos of that, and then we'll essentially be into the scenics then. So we'll get past the boring track laying side of things, but you know, let me know what your thoughts are on that. Do you think it would be a good idea to do a few videos on making a diorama, or do you think it's a waste of time? As well as I did plan on making a diorama anyway, not just for the scenic side. This is a completely different one. Is that I've got a few locomotives that I've kept from the purge. One of those is my original HST. Now, for me, I don't think it's ever going to run again, and I think as well, because it doesn't quite look as good as say like the modern day stock. So I'm planning on building like a diorama to essentially showcase it. So I get that bit of sentiment from it, but I can do something on that. So that's something else that I'm planning on doing, as well as the same for Thomas and Bill. So yeah, we might do a little scene for those guys as well, because again, they're probably never going to run on these, but I just can't get rid of them for my own sentimental values. So yeah, that's something that we might do as well. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. But yeah, that is all from me today, guys. So I really hope you've enjoyed this layout and life update, and I really hope that you're excited as I am to getting on to the channel. Getting on with building the channel further. As such, I'm really looking forward to building this new layout. As I said earlier, let me know in the comments down below what scenics should I try and incorporate into the layout. Again, can someone drop me a comment either down below or on Instagram if you have a track building software. Yeah, I really want to try and get a track plan made that I can follow. So yeah, if anyone is very good with that and can sort of listen to what I want to do with the shape of the room and everything like that, and hopefully when I next have a layout update, I will be able to show you the new room. So that'll be an exciting time as well. So it'd be really nice to be inside the house and I'll not be freezing this winter, which will be absolutely fantastic. But yes, thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, and I don't know why you wouldn't, but hit the subscribe button. It is free to do so, as I said, but it will massively help my channel out in terms of growing and finding more people that like model railways. So yeah, we would really appreciate if you could do that, and as well as hit the thumbs up button if you've enjoyed the video, and drop a comment for anything down below. Yeah, but that is all from me today. So take care everyone, and goodbye.